Difficult to follow Max. I could follow cancer and P, but Max, if I followed him right, Gandalf peed in the Walker Museum and transformed everything into snowman. That sound about right? I'm often a political comic. In Boston, I do that. I spend a lot of time on Trump. You'll be happy to know I'm not going to spend any time on Trump tonight. Because he's had such a horrible day, I feel bad for him. I have some things in common with him that make me feel bad for him. We're the same age, and we've both been devastatingly disappointed in the quality of America's hair restoration products. That's not that funny. I guess I decided when I heard John was going to talk about cancer that it would be reasonable for me to talk about transplantation. Medicine's always looking for the next thing, the next big thing, the next big transplant. Heart transplants are passé already, and liver transplants. So the biggest thing, and I'm sure you've read about this, is, and this is true, by the way, is penis transplants. And he started in South Africa.
You can do that?
Well, you're going to find out. You're going to find out. You can try. They had a poor young man who was mutilated in a ritual ceremony. His penis was infected and had to be amputated. And so the doctors said, there should be something we can do about this. There's never been a penis transplant. And the reason was that any transplant requires heavy-duty anti-rejection drugs. And the thought in medical ethics circles is that you shouldn't be able to give those drugs for any operation that wasn't life-saving. Well, the surgeon discussed this for a while, and then he said this. He said, a person without a penis is as good as dead. I'm sure a number of people, most people here would agree with that. Usually it's half and half in my audiences. So they got by that one, but then they said, finding a suitable donor is a real challenge. You can see why that's true, right? I mean, you might give your brother a kidney, but there are limits to how generous we're going to be. But it turned out you could use a deceased donor, and so the operation proceeded along those lines. I don't know, how many of you have signed an organ donor card? Okay, well, probably doesn't cover, well, maybe it does. Usually they cover your entire body, so you could wind up being a penis donor at some point too. After you're dead, I don't expect anybody to be a donor while you're alive. That was in South Africa. The operation was, you could call it a success. First time it's ever done. Wasn't all that functional, an appendage. But when it came to the United States, we thought we could do this operation much better. And there was a long discussion at Johns Hopkins. Consider themselves the best in the world, right? And the doctors at Hopkins said, they're right that it's not life-saving, but maybe we can make an argument. It's like other transplants we do. And so you can all play this game. If they thought about, well, what other kind of transplants do we do that are like the penis? And they said, one guy said, what about the hand transplant? I looked at the guy and he said, oh yeah, the hand transplant. There was just this article in the New England Journal of Medicine last month that said the two body parts in a male's life that spend the most time together are the hand and the penis. So they thought that probably meant that they could get away with doing this. And the good news is, of course, before we had penile transplants, all you can do is console someone who had lost their penis. You could say to them, well, at least it's a good step on your way to transition. Or you don't have to worry. We talked about cancer before. No penis, no cancer of the penis. You never have to worry about that. And you don't have to spend any more nights laying awake trying to think of what you would do if you had an erection that lasted more than 4 hours. So that's the wonderful world of penile transplants. There are other transplants. My favorite one, this one hasn't been done yet, but it's been threatened for the last 10 years, which is a head transplant. It's sometimes called a body transplant. Depends how you want to look at it. It's for people who are reasonably happy with their head, but are disgusted with their bodies, where diet and exercise just won't do. And so Sergio Carnevaro, and this is true, an Italian surgeon, has come up with what he calls HEAVEN, which is short for head anastomosis reintegration operation. And Sergio says that all he needs to proceed is a super sharp knife and some Gorilla Glue. What he's going to do is cut the head off really fast, right? And then on both of them, both the donor and the recipient, and then switch them, and then glue them down. When ISIS does it, it's a war crime. When Sergio does it, it's science. Thank you very much.